And we'll begin in Uganda, where millions are preparing to vote in a presidential election mired in tension and controversy. President Yoweri Museveni, Africa's longest-serving leader, is seeking a seventh term in office, but his challengers and critics say the race is anything but free or fair. It's set to be one of the most closely watched elections in Uganda's history. Soldiers are lining the streets of the capital, Kampala. Internet services have been temporarily shut down in the run-up to polling day, a measure authorities say is to prevent misinformation, but critics say is a blow to transparency. And for more on these elections, we can go to France 24's Juliette Montilly, who is in Kampala. Good morning, Juliette. What is the mood like there in Uganda as these polls open today?
Well, the mood for now is quite peaceful. The vote started not long ago at around 9 a.m. local time, so with a 2-hour delay. Indeed, the polling stations were supposed to open at 7 a.m., but the local officials managing the elections were waiting for material from the Electoral Commission to arrive. So voters began showing up from the early hours of the morning, despite concerns over security. But right now, as I was saying, the ambience is quite peaceful. Some security forces are visible, but their presence is not heavy. Now, one of the major issues today is access to information with, as you mentioned, an internet blackout that came into effect last Tuesday. Another issue is the uncertainty as for the rest of the day, because while voters are being told by authorities to leave polling stations immediately after casting their ballots, the opposition urges them to stay to, quote, protect their vote. These conflicting instructions could create a complex situation on the ground with fear of confrontation between civilians and armed forces. Some people I've been speaking with in the past few days even told me they would not be voting today for security concerns, but also because they think the election will be rigged anyway. Only around 160 election observers from institutions such as the EU are monitoring the process. This is a very limited number, especially given Uganda's history of contested and controversial elections. So if such irregularities were to be confirmed, Bobi Wine, the main opposition candidate, said that he would call for protests in the coming days, though acknowledging that would likely provoke more crackdown.
Now, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni is seeking election for the 7th time. Is he likely to extend his 40 years in office?
Yeah, President Museveni has been in power for 4 decades now, so the vast majority of Ugandans have never known any other leader. When he came to power, he was saying that the problem of Africa is, quote, leaders who want to overstay in power, but he has no claim to represent what he was criticizing, being today Africa's 3rd longest ruling head of state. He has changed the constitution twice to remove age and term limits, and he's nearly in total control of institutions, means that there is little prospect of an election upset. And with Museveni's election victory all but assured, attention has now focused on the vote's implications for the president's eventual succession. Museveni is widely believed to want to hand power eventually to his son and military chief, the quiet lunatic Muhoozi Kainerugaba.